here. So hello, everybody. My name is Christian Regalado. I'm a program assistant too with the Salinas Valley Adult Education. We have a pretty special presentation this evening to discuss the Early Childhood Education Apprenticeship Program. We have quite a few guests with us here today. I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. If we want to start with Ivan.
Hello, my name is Ivan Pagan, and I'm the director of the Salinas Valley Adult Education Consortium, and welcome everyone.
And then we're going to introduce ourselves with in the order that they're going to be presenting. So next is Kristen.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kristen. I'm the director of the Maestros program at Hartnell College.
Hi, good evening. My name is Maria Ortiz, and I am with the Monterey County Child Care Resource and Referrals project of the Mexican American Opportunity Foundation.
Laura.
Oh, is it me? I thought it was Rosie. Okay, I'm Laura Keeley Saldana, and I'm with Bright Beginnings of Monterey County.
And I'm tag teaming with Laura on our portion of the presentation. So I'm Rosie Armstrong, Hartnell College Workforce Development Director. Thank you.
Thank you all for the introductions. And as everybody can see on the screen, that this program that we're about to discuss this evening is made possible by pretty much everybody that's here and the organizations that they work for. This is a wonderful opportunity. I know this evening is intended to inform you, give you more information about the program, and give you an opportunity to ask questions. So let me go to the next slides. I had shared this agenda with everybody. I had attached it to the emails and I shared it with our presenters. It's kind of a breakdown of how today is going to work. Right now we're at the welcome phase. I'll briefly discuss the program overview, which is some information that a lot of our students have already received. And then we'll get into the presentations with the Teacher Pathway, Kristen Arps presenting, Mexican American Opportunity Foundation, Maria presenting, and then the Bright Beginnings and Hartnell College Apprenticeship discussion, which I think is a big component of this program. And then we'll end it with kind of like our next steps, our debrief, kind of mention some things that we think are important for all of you to kind of take into consideration, and then we'll go ahead and close the meeting after that. And so everyone's here. Most of the students that are here are here because they either saw a flyer or were told that there was an early childhood education program, especially an apprenticeship program starting at Hartnell. And so this is for anybody interested in becoming childcare workers, teachers, getting into that field. And I think the apprenticeship portion, I'm not going to go too much because we do have that presentation from Rosie and Laura. And so the biggest thing I think is classes begin August 29th. So we're about a month out from when classes start. And so the main purpose of this meeting for us is really to make sure that everybody's well informed, all the students are well informed and able to make a decision that's best for them. Because the presentations that we have scheduled for this evening are going to give you all an idea of kind of like, you know, some of you have interest and some of you have expressed interest, whether it's teaching in elementary or just working in a childcare facility or even starting your own childcare facility at home. And so the presentations that we have lined up kind of go over all that information. And so we are really hopeful that, you know, you are able to leave this this evening with a better understanding of kind of the opportunities and the options that are available to you. As a reminder, these classes for this program, for the apprenticeship program, are going to be held at the new Hartnell College Soledad Education Center. And I'll talk about, you know, the class times and the class dates a little bit further. But I just wanted to mention that because it's important to remember that these classes will be held at the new Soledad Education Center. Now, some of our students that are in attendance here have already taken a class with Francisco at the Soledad Adult School, which was an ESL for ECE class, kind of like an introductory course. Some of our students have already are already enrolled at Hartnell College because they already took a Counseling 1 class with Monica Carrasco or one of our other Counseling 1 instructors. And then there are some that, you know, we felt would be perfect candidates to kind of start taking the classes at Hartnell. And so some of the students have not taken that class with Francisco or that Counseling 1 class, but nonetheless will need to take it. And then obviously we can help with the enrollments process. That's another purpose of this meeting, is to kind of put a face. I know I had never met Maria or Laura, and so it's wonderful to put a face to some of the people that you're communicating with. And so my job as a program assistant is to help all the students with the enrollment steps, making sure that they pretty much complete the enrollment process to be able to take these classes. And so again, for those that have already taken classes at Hartnell, you're a couple steps ahead. But if you have not enrolled, then we are here to help, and I can help you with that. And at the end, I'll give you my contact information where we can discuss and where I can help you with some of that. And the biggest thing is, all of the students that were invited because we believe that many of them can become part of this first early childhood education apprenticeship program cohort. The group of students that will be starting in August, taking classes at Hartnell, and we'll be moving through the progression of the classes they need in order to fulfill whatever they're wanting to do, whether it's childcare or to actually become the teacher. There was another presentation we did, which most of the students had access, which was kind of like the introductory of what classes they need to take. And so I'd be happy to share that with the students if they need that. But today is really just about discussing more in detail what the apprenticeship program and what this program will look like. And as a heads up for all of our students, is we are anticipating to have another cohort start. So for those of you that start in August, you are our first cohort, first group of students starting at Hartnell. And so the idea is to have a second group of students kind of following the path or following the classes that you will be completing soon. So for the family and friends, relatives, neighbors, extended family, if they're interested, they can definitely be a part of this program, and they could take classes at a later time. Just wanted to throw that out there. Within this presentation this evening, we wanted to discuss 4 different paths, and some of these paths will be discussed by our presenters. The first path, which is I think one of the most important ones or the biggest ones, is the apprenticeship program, and that's the piece that Rosie and Laura will be discussing. For those of you that we've already kind of had an initial conversation, I shared that in order to participate in the apprenticeship program, we did need to have a right to work. And so that's why it has a star there, because there are certain requirements that you need to have in order to participate in the program. That doesn't necessarily mean that option is kind of completely, that door is completely closed, because there's other programs like the Fellows Pathway, which is something that we can discuss a little bit later, that does not require a right to work. And if anything, it's more of like a stipend program where you are, working at an organization, and at the end of your hours, then you get paid a stipend. Maria, through the Mexican American Opportunity Foundation, will be discussing the Family Child Care Educator program, which is an entrepreneur opportunity. And I think this is a great one, because some of the students that started with Francisco's class at Soledad Adult School expressed a desire or an interest in starting their own childcare facilities at home. And so hearing kind of what that is about, or kind of a path that they can take, I think is great to have Maria here present to share information. And then the other one, which we can discuss after all of our presentations, is maybe some of these options are not, or some of these pathways are not for you, and you may take ECE classes on your own through Hartnell. I've told many of the students that are here today that Hartnell has always had ECE program. They've always been offering the ECE classes at our main campus, and now with the new Soledad Center or the Castroville Center, I'm sure they'll continue to offer the ECE classes at the different sites. And so it's always possible to take some of these classes on your own. And again, the purpose of today is to discuss some of these pathways, give you, the students, an opportunity to figure out which one is best. And hopefully, you know, the apprenticeship is enticing to you. Hopefully it's something that you want to participate in. But as I mentioned, the purpose is to really inform you and give you all the information that you need to know about the opportunities and the paths available. And I mentioned the presenters today. So this is the order of the presentation. Maestros program through Hartnell College with being presented by Kristen Arps. Then we'll follow with Maria Ortiz and I forgot to change the title, but it says licensed family childcare. So it's that entrepreneur opportunity of starting your own business at home. And then the apprenticeship details with Bright Beginnings in Hartnell through Laura and Rosie. Are there any questions before we transition into the presentations? Okay. So first up, we have Kristen Arps.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this evening. Thanks to Christian and Ivan and all of our partners, and a big thank you to you students who are here tonight. This is such a great program because there are so many different pathways and so many different options that you can choose from depending on your goals and your needs. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is a program offered by Hartnell College called Maestros. And basically we support students who want to become teachers. And for those of you who decide that you want to go on to teach, we are here to support you. Next slide. Are you controlling it, Tracy? Okay. So I'm sure, you know, I think anyone who's a teacher of any kind or working with children or, you know, little kids, elementary, high school, even college, we all really do it because we're wanting to make an impact in people's lives, whether they're children or young adults or adults, and to make positive impacts in our communities. I will say that in terms of teachers, not only do teachers make a big impact, but there's also a big shortage of teachers. We do not have enough teachers right now in our schools. So we're really trying to find people who have a desire to teach, and especially those who want to stay in their communities and teach. Because you know your communities, you're connected, and we believe you can make a really big impact in your own communities. Next slide. Thank you. So actually, can you go down a couple more? I switched the
Back or forward?
forward, sorry. Switch another one. One more. Okay, sorry, and then we'll go back up. So as you know, or as you're going to be learning, like I said, you have a lot of different options in early childhood education. I'm not an expert in the child development permits or, you know, other requirements for preschool or below. You know, a lot of you probably, you know, might want to have your own childcare centers or work in childcare centers, work in preschools. But for those of you who think you might want to teach in transitional kindergarten, or grades 1 through 6, or in some cases 1 through 8, depending on the type of school, what you're going to need to do that is what is called a multiple subject teaching credential. And a multiple subject teaching credential requires that you get not only your 2-year degree, but your 4-year degree, your bachelor's degree. And then you enter a credential program and you get your multiple subject teaching credential. So our program primarily supports students who are going to pursue their multiple subject teaching credential and become elementary school teachers. So now if we could go back up, sorry, there we go. Thank you. So the Maestros program is very open to anyone. Again, we support people who want to become any type of teacher. So if you want to be an elementary teacher, a high school teacher, you can be in our program. If you are getting an early childhood education degree, if you're getting an elementary teacher education degree, you can be in our program. And you can also be transferring to any university or four-year school that you want to. So we partner very closely with California State University, Monterey Bay, CSUMB, which is nearby in Marina. But you're not required to transfer there if you're in our program. You can transfer to any university. It's also very flexible. So you can be pursuing any degree, you can take your classes at any time or location that you want to. You can be a part-time student or a full-time student. So again, very open, not a lot of requirements. We just want to support you in any way we can. Next slide. So as I said, though, we do have a very close partnership with CSU Monterey Bay. And this is probably the most common pathway that our students follow. Again, you don't have to follow this pathway, but this is the most common one. Our early childhood education students get their associate's degree in early childhood education at Hartnell College, and then they transfer to CSUMB. And usually the most common and probably the best fit in terms of the type of bachelor's degree you get is called the Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Studies. That degree in liberal studies best prepares you for the multiple subject teaching credential, but they also have a bachelor's degree in human development and family science, and some ECE students pursue that as well. And then once you get your bachelor's, then you go on to do the teaching credential program and get your teaching credential. And CSUMB has a really great teaching credential program. And there are also some other options for different types of like specializations, or what we call authorizations. For example, you can get your authorization in special education or in bilingual education. So again, that's just an example of a pathway you might take. Next slide, please. So yeah. So if you do decide that you'd like to join the Maestros program, these are some of the services that we provide to you. We provide academic and career advising. We help you determine, what classes you need to take and what you need to graduate and what you need to transfer. We provide a lot of support when you're getting ready to graduate and transfer to make sure you know all the steps that are needed to get ready to go, on to the next step, which is applying to SUMB or another university. We also have some resources available for our students. We have laptops that we loan to our students. We have textbooks that we loan for some of the classes. And then we also have some emergency funds. If any of our students are facing any challenges or barriers that are getting in the way of them pursuing their studies, then they can apply for some financial assistance from us. And then we also offer some professional development opportunities and different events and activities. Some are like workshops or trainings related to becoming an effective teacher. And then others are more fun or social activities where you get to meet other students who are wanting to become teachers. So you kind of become of this part of a bigger network and family of future teachers. So if you are interested, the process isn't too hard. Like I said, there aren't a lot of requirements. You just need to reach out to us. You can email us at teach@hartnell.edu or call that phone number. And, or we also have an online interest form. I don't know, Christiane, are you going to be sending these out to people? I don't know.
Yes, we'll be
That will-
sharing it. We'll be
Okay,
putting
because
the
there's a
presentation.
link there that they could use. And then you would attend an information session just to learn about the program in a little more detail. And there is like a 1-page application, 1 to 2-page application, and then that's it. So we would love to have you. Like I said, we have a big network of former students, current students who are all becoming teachers and are passionate about it and also want to support each other. So I hope to hear from you. That is it. I think the last slide has our website address too. So you can also learn more about our program by going to that page. Thank you again. Are there any questions? I think you could either unmute yourselves and ask a question, or you could also put something in the chat if you have any questions. And you can also, you can reach out to me at the email address I just provided, or you can also reach out to Christian and he can connect you with me too.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you, Kristen, for the presentation. And yes, if anybody's interested, you could either follow the links or the emails that were shown on the presentation, or I can definitely direct you. I know when I was at Hartnell, I think there was only one education class, EDU 1. This was back in like 2007. So to see a new a teacher pathway program for anybody interested in becoming teachers, I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And the fact that it's a collaboration with CSUMB, I think it's a great opportunity for anybody who's interested in education, especially that transitional kinder up until high school. As Kristen mentioned, it would require different things, but nonetheless, education is a very broad field. Once you get in it, I think you're kind of stuck in it because you love it so much, but that's just what I think. And so thank you, Kristen. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna bring up the next presentation up. Maria's presentation. Give me 1 second. Oops. Stop share. Share. Now this one, I couldn't get it to go on Google, so I'm just gonna do it through PowerPoint. Okay, Maria?
Works fine for me.
And then let me
Okay.
see.
So, I'm on.
Is it the full screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Like I said before, my name is Maria Ortiz, and I work for the MAOF, better known, MAOF, it's the Mexican American Opportunity Foundation. And I work in the department for the Child Care Resource and Referrals. And today I am here to introduce or talk about a project called the Child Care Initiative Project. We call it SIP. I always refer to it as SIP. And what is SIP? Well, and what does SIP offer? SIP focuses mainly on 2 aspects, which is capacity building and quality improvement. Okay, what does this include? Capacity building, what does capacity building includes? It includes assisting new family childcare providers through the state licensing process and provides support for existing family childcare providers interested in expanding their capacity from small to large. Quality improvement. What does this mean? Quality improvement. Well, SIP offers trainings, and we also help you track your education. The trainings that SIP offers are 5 modules. And these modules of trainings are all on areas of early care and education. SIP also provides incentives to help with the licensing process, reimbursement for costs associated to applying and receiving a family childcare license for up to $1,000. With that being said, I am going to start my PowerPoint, the presentation. The business in family childcare. I am going to start by kind of asking some reflective questions. You don't have to answer them. I mean, just it's to yourself. Worry because you have to leave your children under the care of others while you go to work? Do you love caring for children? Would you like to have more spare time and generate income while you're at home? Next. This presentation will show you how to become a family childcare licensed home educator in a period of 6 to 8 weeks. Opening your business in childcare in the comfort of your home will not only bring income to the home, but will allow you to spend time with your children. I think as mothers, parents, we all want that. Next. Well, did you know millions of California families with infants and toddlers need childcare? Home-based childcare providers keep communities strong by allowing parents to work. Many families want flexible options like early mornings, evenings, and weekend care. Resource and referrals will provide that one-on-one group support to help you in the process of becoming a licensed family childcare educator. Next. What do we offer? We offer health and safety trainings, business and marketing strategies to help you keep growing your program, child development training so you can provide the best care, startup support for up to $1,000 in materials or reimbursements. Next. Before we move forward, I would like to ask the following question. Do you like to be around children? That's a good question. Do you like to be around children? Just think about it. How much time and effort are you willing to put into this journey? Just think about those questions. Do you like to be with children? How much are you willing to put on this journey? Next. Not sure, more or less. That is not a good signal. Next. When working with children, you have many, many rewarding moments and satisfactions. That is, if you put 100% of your effort to accomplish this dream. Like I said before, spending time with your children is the best. There's no doubt that the best gift in the face of this earth from you to your children is called time. Next. Have any idea of how you missed, of all you've missed due to long hours of work? Next. Think about it. You probably missed soccer games or any sports, teacher conferences, birthday parties, graduations, or even family time, because those hard hours of out of the home, working out of the home. Well, do you think this is something you can take advantage of just by becoming a family childcare home provider? Next. If you think about it, this is a great opportunity to see your children grow and develop while you work from home. just follow the simple path. Now I'm going to tell you the steps. Follow after you've made all this reflections. Do I like children? How much time am I willing to spend with, in this journey? And then you have to put 100% of your effort if you really want to be successful in this business. The first step is you must do an online orientation, and that's the website. You log into the www.ccld.ca.gov. That's a licensing website. Once you do the orientation, at the orientation, you will receive all the information. That's why it's called orientation. You receive all the, the licensing process. And we know that orientation, it could be very overwhelming. And that's where the resource and referrals also can assist you with. Once you do the orientation and you have questions, you can always contact the resource and referrals and we can guide you to the whole process. Then you must complete the application. When you do the orientation, they tell you to download all the package, but sometimes it's kind of hard. Well, for those like me that have technology issues, just come to the resource and referrals and we can provide you with the application, okay? We also help you with the application review. Because sometimes some documents, you're not familiar with certain documents, it can get a little bit scary. Well, you complete the application and you also need 8 hours of health and safety in lead poisoning course, okay? You also need to enroll in an 8-hour CPR class. It has to be EMSA certified. Next. Next step is to enroll in the 4-hour general mandated reporting child abuse training. And you also log into the www.ccld. The licensing website, okay, to do that training. You do it online. You also need the 3-hour provider mandated child abuse reporting training, which you also log into the licensing website. And it's offered in English and or Spanish. Also the licensing orientation, you have the option to take it in English or in Spanish. The 7th step is all adults over the age of 18 must have a TB vaccine, TB clearance. The licensing holder must have other additional vaccinations, which is the influenza, pertussis, and measles, in addition to the TB clearance. That's for the head of the, the ones that are gonna hold the license. Once you have all that, you've completed your application, you've got all the mandated reporter trainings, you have your CPR, health and safety, you submit, you can come to the R&R and we review your application prior to sending it. You want to make sure that everything is complete. And also licensing is pretty picky about your application. They don't accept whiteout or nothing. It has to be like very, very neat and clean. Once you've done that, you submit the application with a check or money order of $73. And within approximately 10 days of receiving completed application, licensing will send you a letter with a pending facility number, okay? With that facility number, you schedule an appointment to be fingerprinted. Normally, we provide the Sheriff's Department's phone number where you go and you be fingerprinted. Don't have your fingerprints done prior to getting that facility number, because we've had some prospective licensees that they want to get ahead and they go and they get their fingerprints done. But no, that's not how it works, because licensing is going to give you a facility number, which that's how they know, that's that facility number is for your home. That's how they track you down, with that facility number. And all the adults that live in your home must be fingerprinted, okay? The next step is you prepare your home for a site visit. It's called a pre-licensing inspection. If you feel comfortable and if you want, Resource and Referrals can help you with a pre-licensing inspection prior to the pre-licensing, the analyst coming to your home. We can assist you with kind of going over, your home. Next. Okay, when licensing comes and visits your home, if everything's okay, right there, they will give you kind of like a license. They'll tell you, you've been licensed since today. Just wait for the actual document that comes in the mail. Okay. And I mentioned about the SIP modules. The modules are based on the California ECEAP competencies. And module 1 covers operating a strong family childcare business, which covers all the aspects of running a family childcare business. And module 2, it's child health, safety, and the learning environment. Module 3, developmental needs of children. Module 4, professionalism and provider support. Module 5, it's infants and toddlers. Any questions as right now? I think I'm done. Okay, a question came up that says that if MAF helps with fingerprints, CPR, health and safety, all that, like I mentioned, it's $1,000 of reimbursement for initial cost, which covers fingerprints, vaccinations, licensing, the $73 for the licensing fee. Licensing orientation, you are going to be charged as well. If you do the licensing orientation online, I'm not sure if it's $27.40, something like that. So make sure that when you log into the online orientation, you do the right one. If they're going to charge you more than $27 and some cents, you're in the wrong orientation. Okay. So it covers the licensing application fee, the licensing orientation, the fingerprints, the TV clearance, and anything that has to do with initial cost. We even provide you with materials and equipment to help you start your business in childcare. We want you to be successful. And like I said, if this is something that you are not sure, that you have your doubts, for sure you're gonna failure. You're not gonna succeed because you really have to set your mind and effort if you want to be I don't know how to say it in English. If you want to succeed in this business. Any questions? If you wanted to make them in Spanish, that's my area of comfort. Spanish is my first language, so go ahead. I'm open to questions.
I have a question, Maria.
Okay,
Okay,
go
I'm
ahead.
curious. For the home inspection, in your experience, like what are things that they look for? Because I know I've had some students say, I want to start my own business at home. But I think the facilities, that's a huge part, right? They're looking out for things. What kind of things are they looking out? Do you know?
Well, you know what? It's just childproof. You need to have all the electrical outlets covered, all the cleaning supplies, disinfecting and cleaning supplies locked up away from children. All the sharp objects like the knives must be, because when licensing comes, they're going to open your kitchen, the door under the cabinet under your kitchen sink. They're going to inspect, the bathroom. They don't want shampoos, conditioners, lotions, nothing toxic. They want it away from the children. And outdoors, they are going to check your outdoors. If you have like a swimming pool, a jacuzzi or whatever, it needs to be fenced at least 5 feet. The fence. And also basically it's safety, but that's just the main, like the knives out of reach of children, the cleaning supplies away from children, the electrical outlets, any cords that are hanging, sometimes, the curtains, you have long cords hanging, just anything, you need to put your home child-proof. And I saw a question pop up in the chat. If you have to be the owner, no tienes que ser dueña de la casa. I'm answering in Spanish because they put it in Spanish. Okay? You don't have to be a homeowner. No tienes que ser dueño de la casa. Puedes rentar, puedes vivir en un apartamento, en una traila. You can live in an apartment, in a mobile home. You don't have to be the owner. The only thing is that if you rent, if you're not the property owner, you have to fill a special form. And the landlord, you have to notify the landlord that you're going to start the business of childcare. If you're going to care for 6 children, when you care for more than 6 children, you do need the landlord approval. Now, another important thing that I want to mention is that to become a licensed family childcare home educator, you don't have to have a legal status in this country. You can be undocumented, you still get a license. And for the fingerprints, what is it called? I forgot the name right now. There's a place where you go and have your fingerprints done. Okay. So if you can always contact, I always thought I had written the phone number. My phone number is 831-757-0775. So for the live scan, that's for, because I know somebody wrote live scan. Live scan is for those that exempt providers meaning that they don't have a license. They don't have a license and they still care for children. Okay, but they do some, if they're under the program, they need to be fingerprinted, which is called live scan. But yes, to become a licensed home provider and start the business in childcare, you don't need to have a legal status. I mean, this is a wonderful opportunity. I mean, it's amazing how you can spend more time with your children and start, generating income.
Otra pregunta, another question.
Otra pregunta, sale.
So just because I'm fairly new, I have two boys, 7 and
Okay.
5. I'm just curious, like how much are people charging at some of these facilities?
That's a good one. That's a good, Christian. There you go. You know what? Because you're gonna be your boss. You set your rules. You set your regulations. It's your business. That's the beauty, because it's your business. You charge whatever you want to charge. Okay. However, there's a market rate, maximum market rate for family childcare home providers. And right now, if you care for an infant, it's 200, I think it's a little bit over 200 a week for an infant. And for an infant, we're talking about from 0 to 2 years old. Okay, but as soon as they turn 2 years old, for licensing, they're considered preschoolers. So you can charge for a preschooler, I think it's 196 for a preschooler and 170 something for a school age. Now, when you become licensed, if you say, I'm going to be licensed for 8 children, that doesn't mean that you're going to care for 8 children, because it depends on the ages, okay, on the age group. If you have 4 infants, if you have 4 children under the age of 2, you're considered full capacity, because we know infants need more attention. So if you're going to care for children under the age of 5, you can only care for 6 under the age of 5. Now, if you want to have mixed age groups, you're going to care for 2 infants, 4 preschoolers, and 2 school age. So the ratios are kind of tricky. I even get confused myself sometimes when provider calls us, because they want to make sure that they're not out of compliance, because it's considered a safety violation by the licensing department. So you want to make sure that you're not out of compliance. And when providers call us and they want to make sure, they tell us, well, I have such and such infants, I have preschoolers, do I still have capacity or openings for another child. And, you know, we really have to look back into the ratios because we don't want to give them false information, because especially me, that I don't deal with that. But yeah, ratios can get kind of tricky. But providers, like I said, si le pones el 100%, if you really put your effort, providers make, you know, like they can make good money. Okay, so I don't know if I answered your question, Christian.
Yeah, no, you did. No,
Now
thank
you want
you.
to become a family childcare provider.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. Estoy pensando. No, thank you, Maria, for that wonderful
Yeah.
information. And as you mentioned, it was a great opportunity for those interested in starting their own businesses at home. You're right. Sometimes with work, we miss things with our kids. And so
Yeah.
that's a wonderful opportunity, and especially for those that love working with kids. And so, yeah, thank you, Maria. I think Laura put your phone number on the chat box.
Thank you, Laura.
Anybody is interested in. It's a great opportunity, and I don't know if there's any other questions for Maria.
Yeah,
Me.
a couple more.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you can go first. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. Well, hablo muy poquito inglés.
Háblame en español, yo te traduzco. Háblame en español. Si te
Ah, sí, está
sientes más
bien.
cómoda. Sí.
Oh, sí, más que nada, espero no hacer una pregunta que a lo mejor usted, bueno, solo que tengo curiosidad como si uno abre solo, digamos, su guardería, pues que es lo que he escuchado hasta ahorita, pues que uno puede tener su propia guardería, ¿no? O abrir tu espacio donde puedes cuidar ahí a los pequeños. Tengo curiosidad como si hay una evaluación, me imagino, o no, o alguien viene a evaluar como el lugar, pues como que esté en óptimas condiciones para los niños. ¿Se
Así,
recibe
mira.
pues como esa evaluación?
Sí, mira, parte de lo que mi trabajo incluye es asesorarte en cuestión de seguridad en tu hogar. Te damos una guía en la que tú vas a checar, igual también licencia te provee esa guía, y nosotros te ayudamos a poner tu casa a prueba de niños. Ahora, something very important that I forgot to mention is that you must be 18 years or older in order to operate a family childcare home, and you must live in the home. Okay.
Okay.
Flor, no sé si contesté tu pregunta.
Sí, creo
Okay.
que sí. Gracias.
So I just have a couple more questions that I think some students might have. So do I need any college level courses to be able to do this?
No, it helps a lot. It helps a lot because it's going to facilitate your job, understanding child's behaviors, curriculum planning. It's going to make it a lot easier on you, but it doesn't require. The only requirements are CPR, health and safety, mandated child abuse reporting training, and basically that's it. But it does help a lot. And if you join the Child Care Initiative Project, we provide you with trainings, a lot of trainings. Like I said, yeah, what I mentioned at the beginning, those are the only things that are required, you know, like CPR, health and safety, mandated reporter training, licensing orientation. But basically, you do not need any ECE background, but it does help a lot to have those classes.
And then the other question I had was, okay, so there are a lot of steps there. Do you have a program that helps me do all this step by step by step?
That's me. I can walk you through the whole process. I mean, it's very, very simple. We literally, that's what we do. That's our job. That's our job. We call the resource center referrals, and sometimes, you know, they call us because they have difficulties logging into the website, and by phone, we're just guiding them. Okay, did you click here? Now click there. Now go here. And yes, because like I always say, technology for me, it's a big thing. So if I know something and providers call us that they're having problems as far as even logging into the website, I feel for them because I've gone through all those things. I go through that a lot of times. So we try to help them with all that. And also with the mandated reporter training, We help them log into the training. We review the application. We help them complete the application. We don't complete the application for them because we consider that, you also need to have self-help skills, and you also need to learn, something simple, but there are questions sometimes that you're not familiar with. It could get a little bit tricky, and that's R&R is there. It's there to assist you.
Maria,
Otra?
there's a question on the chat box saying, is it the same if I have a facility and not using my home? What is required in terms of licensing?
Well, if you don't live in the home, it's called center base, and it's a different requirements. The orientation is different. You also have to do an orientation, and it's different, and it's more expensive. That's why when I said, if you're going to apply for the licensed home provider, make sure that you log into the one that costs the 27 something, because I think the center base is more expensive. So there's been prospective family child educators that did the wrong orientation. So for centers, you also have to do an orientation, and it's another process. It's different than what I just explained right now. So just feel free to call me. I think Laura put my phone number. Thank you, Laura, in the chat. It's 831-757-0775. My email is very easy, like my name, Mortiz, M-O-R-T-I-Z, like Morticia, but it's Mortiz, at maof.org. And I would be more than happy to answer your questions. And like I said, Spanish es mi fuerte. Español es mi fuerte y inglés o español. En el inglés me defiendo poquito, ¿verdad? Pero ahí andamos. Okay, so preguntas, questions.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much. And I know Laura saw me kind of giving my thumbs up and excited about it. And I'm very big on, when an organization, when an entity, when just any individual is there to help answer questions and to help people through the process, to me, that's like the best, because I think that's the thing about in education. I talked about it's so broad. But when you're in education, you're always trying to help people out. And I think what your program with the Mexican American Opportunity Foundation and what you're doing with this program here is amazing, because it's literally guiding everybody through the steps and answering questions if they have them. So, llámenle a María si es que tienen preguntas.
I'm not sure if I might be, hay algunas de las alumnas que están viniendo ya conmigo atendiendo esta, me hace que vi algunas. Ahorita que I went in to see who was in the class, and I think I saw probably 2 that are already coming to the SIP classes, the Child Care Initiative project classes. So anyways, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but yes, I'll be more than happy to have anybody wanting to join my classes. I'm going to start on mid-August with the trainings. So give me a call. I'll send you the calendar of workshops and hope to see you here with me.
Maria, are your classes in English and Spanish? Do you have 2 different tracks that you teach?
Yes, we normally do 1 group in English and 1 group in Spanish, because I've done it before, like both bilingual, but it loses flavor. I don't know if that's pierde el sabor, lo voy a decir en español. It's more, it takes longer. So as an experience, we try to have them, like separate groups, English only and Spanish only. This year, we were able to have, actually, this was the first time of the year that we had like maybe 11 English speaking in our group. Right now, this year we have 24 new license providers. Oh, thank you. I forgot about that form. Thank you, Laura. Laura created this form, so I don't want to take credit for it, but it's an awesome, just follow those simple steps. The Child Care Initiative project, it says, free consultation to help you through the licensing process, pre-licensing inspection of your home, up to $1,000 reimbursement to cover startup costs such as the orientation is $25 if you do it in person. Licensing fee, $73, fingerprints for all the address, anybody that lives in your home, TB test, required vaccinations, CPR courses, first aid course, health and safety course, materials for your home like fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, safety latches, etc., etc. And then on the other one, so yes, so just I'll be on the lookout for phone calls or emails.
And we'll be sharing both the presentations and this flyer with everybody. We normally create a digital folder where we store everything. We give everybody access to be able to see it and download it and do as they please with it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Highly appreciate your invitation.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next presentation. Let me cue it up. Give me 1 second. There you go, Rosie, Laura.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And I'm going to admit something right now. That picture of the kitty was the cutest thing. And I have 4 cats and I'm kicking myself, and Yvonne knows this and Laura knows this. Why didn't I put the cats in my presentation? So I'm going to do my best anyways, and we'll see where we get to. So, Laura and I thought we could start. By the way, can you guys all hear me? Just want to make sure, because I've been on Zoom Power all day today. And I don't know if Diet Coke Power is doing it. So if for some reason you can't hear me at any point, just speak up, let me know. So we thought we'd start with this image first. And this is a question really for you, our future students. And please, our workforce leaders on this call, please also chime in. So if everyone wants to, or as you wish, take yourself off the mic or drop in the chat, looking at these images, what is your first thought? What do you think of? You can speak up, put it in the chat. Just want to get an idea. What is the first thing that comes to you? Okay, Laura says teamwork. Good call out.
Tiring.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
That's why I have a Diet Coke.
Mhm.
Just kidding. There's probably a Diet Coke in there somewhere. All right, awesome. All right. How about one of our brave future ECE apprenticeship students? Is there an image that you think of, or a term that comes to you when you see these images? Okay, so you're welcome to do what I do, and that is, if you think about something during the course of our presentation, put it in, because we'll come back to what these images represent multiple times. So let me tell you a little bit about why we chose these images. The apprenticeship journey is one that represents, thank you. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt myself. Accomplishing a goal. I love that. So thank you, Maria. So as the title states, you are a trailblazer, but we will be supporting your journey along the apprenticeship program. We hope that, yes. Hey, okay, all these comments are coming in. So I'm going to look at your comments. Perseverance. I see also climbing up for success. Okay. All right. And do you see along those images, each person has a tool, has a resource with them. They're not doing it by themselves. And so just like the apprenticeship program, let me give you a little bit of a preface here, because there are lots of powers and supports that will also support you along your apprenticeship journey. We'll repeat these multiple times, so that's on purpose because we really want to emphasize those. But there's resource power, which will include laptops or Chromebooks, your textbooks, financial power, which will include your paid apprenticeship courses, paid employment and work experience, people power, so in the form of a student success coach, a tutor, a mentor from your potential employer, a soft skills coach that will help you with your resume, interviewing skills, training power. So perhaps that will be around CPR. Well, actually it will be around CPR, first aid, health, professional infant toddler, cohort training, some permit support, because the apprenticeship will lead to 3 permits, including an assistant teacher, associate teacher, as well as teacher, licensing support power around fingerprinting, TB tests, and more. So want you to consider that. And if we go to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit more in detail what we're going to talk about. So you as a trailblazer, this is our first non-traditional apprenticeship program that Hartnell College with Salinas Valley Adult Education Consortium leading for the pre-apprenticeship pathway. Our partners from Bright Beginnings, Monterey County Office of Ed, United Way. There's so many employers there. Maria, Mexican American Opportunity Foundation, are all involved in this process with you. So you're not by yourself. We'll talk a little bit about what a registered apprenticeship program is. How is it different from an internship? Are they the same? Are they a little bit different? What's included in the program? What classes will you take? What supports will be offered? Again, we'll repeat some of those same themes. How do you get started? So if we can go to our next slide. All right, so about almost 100 years ago, the Shelley Maloney Apprenticeship Labor Standards Act became law in California. And the purpose was to create a uniform approach to training youth in skilled occupations. These were in traditional occupations. So you might think of carpentry, you might think of mechanics, you might think of building and plasters, traditional crafts. But now in our current year, if we go to the next slide, Governor Newsom has crafted a vision for 500,000 apprenticeships by the year of 2029. If I look at my clock, that's 7 years from now. So we know we can't create or get to that number without having an array of apprenticeships, both in traditional and non-traditional innovative programs like early childhood education. So employers, it's a co-creation. We work with our employers to create those uniform standards together to create the apprenticeship that is an employee and a student, working on a craft in tandem. So what is a registered apprenticeship? We get asked this question all the time, but I can tell you the most basic definition is it's a structured education training program, which includes those 2 core components, your work on the job training and the classroom instruction. So the instruction that you'll hear a little bit more about from Hartnell College, those specific courses, it include, and you'll see plus signs there because there's a lot of components that are included. It's a paid employee that earns wages while they're in the registered apprenticeship program. It's also supported by an employer mentor. So we all need guides in our job, in our professions, to help us go from entry level to a more advanced position. So from a novice apprentice to an expert, while you earn college credits, a certificate or degree, depending on your program, a special certification or permits. And so in all truth and transparency, I also want to let you know that we are in development of this registered apprenticeship program right now. So we're working with employers to create those master uniform standards together. So there might be some things where I might tell you, we're going to talk with Christian, we're going to talk with Yvonne, we'll have that form to you, we'll be in contact. And so this will be this process will be is in development right now, and we're trying to solidify that apprenticeship program very quickly. So, but we're doing that with the partnership of our community-based organizations, our employers, and our educational support. So we'll go to the next slide. So internship versus registered apprenticeship. They sound similar, but they're a little bit different. In the internship on the left, students are exposed through career awareness and exposure. It could be a very short-term experience that they participate in. So that could be as little as 20 hours. It could be 20 weeks. There is an educational oversight. So that's Hartnell College. Somebody is overseeing that experience. There's usually not credit, a certificate, or degree unless a student is enrolled in a co-op class. It could be a paid or unpaid experience, typically has no benefits. A registered, and I emphasize registered here, apprenticeship program is that structured on-the-job training that we just looked at. It is a longer-term program. It can be anywhere from 6 months to 6 years. So we currently have an electrical apprenticeship program, what we call a traditional apprenticeship program. It's 6 years. The program, because it's registered, has state and federal oversight. So we are providing the training hours to an external agency to verify that time. There is also a credit, certificate, or degree, certification, or permit involved. It just depends on the apprenticeship program. There's progressive wage increases upon skills demonstration or time in the job, or based on the hours of the job. Sometimes there's benefits depending on the type of apprenticeship position. And because it is a program that is a registered apprenticeship program with a local education agency like Hartnell College, you get college credit. So we'll go to the next slide here. Okay, so we're going to kind of focus on these two core tracks. What does this on the job training look like? And on the job training look like, excuse me. So it includes 2,000 hours over a 34-month period, so almost 3 years. We will talk a little bit, Laura actually will talk a little bit more about what that typical day looks like, the hours, those daily tasks, that mentorship opportunity. But before we go there, I'll talk a little bit more about what's included in your coursework, what we call related and supplemental instruction. That requires about 144 hours per year. We'll talk a little bit about the length of that program, what the pathway looks like, the wraparound supports. So that first image of the trailblazer, tutoring, resources, soft skills development, your resume, interviewing, the laptop, the textbook, the tuition, and the courses. So if we can go to the next slide, Christian. All right, so we have, we don't just start with the apprenticeship program, right? We have a pre-apprenticeship program that some of you may have already participated in. That could be ESL courses or a Counseling One student success seminar. So in the very beginning, Christian showed us and Yvonne showed us that the student success seminar, well, you don't have to start in the beginning. You do want to register in that class during the course of the apprenticeship program. So that is going to help you. That's going to help you succeed in the apprenticeship program. So we start in the fall. When does the fall start? It starts August 29th, which is a Monday, last I checked. Excuse me, did I say August? Yes. Pardon me, I'm looking at my dates here. And there's 2 classes in the fall, and we wanted to point this out to you because sometimes when you're looking at classes, which ECE 1 class should I enroll in? Which ECE 6 class should I also enroll in? So we want to give you those section numbers. I believe section number 6043, that is on a Tuesday. Section 6033 is on a Thursday, and those are hybrid courses. So that means online and in person. As you can see, each semester you'll have at least 2 classes. You won't be exceeding 2 classes per semester because while you're a student, you're an employee, you're that apprentice, we want you to be successful. So we want to be really mindful to ensure that you complete your coursework successfully and are successful applying the coursework at your employer's site. So you also will see some happy faces. Now I'm thinking about it, I should put kitty faces there because that would have, that's my thing. So anyways, what do those faces represent? They represent permits. So we talked a little bit about obtaining permits. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. By spring 2023, you will be eligible to receive your assistant permit after completing the fall 2022 classes, so 6 units. By fall 2023, you'll qualify for the associate permit. And then at the end, near the end of your term, and there is some specific requirements, and I'll go ahead and drop those in the chat because they are very specific. You will qualify for the teacher permit. So I am glad to put this in the chat, and then we can share it out and discuss it a little more. But guess what? You don't have to make those interpretations. Why? Because you'll have a mentor that will help you at your employer site. So let me just do a brief drop in of the chat there, and then we'll include some of our contact information and we can go over that as well. So we're going to go to the next slide. Oh, by the way, I should have said this from the very beginning. That's 41 units included. How close is that to an ECE degree? Well, an ECE degree requires 60. That's 2/3 there, right? And so you're well on your way to also completing the degree. So I want you to think about that. So even though the degree is not part of the apprenticeship program, that is something that we work towards, right? And so depending on your pathway, Christian talked a lot about different pathways. That might be a pathway that you might choose at some point. And I know that there's another pathway after, because we heard from Kristen Arps as well for our partnership with CSUMB. So if we go to the next slide. How do you get started? So you've already accomplished part of that with step number 1, being here today and receiving this information. You'll also want to complete a Hartnell application. And so I realized I added a link in the chat, but didn't include the exact address here. So I want to make sure that you are set up for what we call our steps for success. So I'm adding a link there because it's really important to make sure that you apply at Hartnell College for those courses. So at this point, as I said, we're still in the process of getting those courses registered through the state. So Laura, my co-chair, along with Tammy Boats, has been instrumental in helping us get those registered. So you will receive more information from Yvonne, myself, or Christian to make sure that we get you to the next appropriate step as we develop that. And then lastly will be the apprenticeship application. So I believe that might be my last slide, and it is. And so, like I said in the very beginning, if you think of questions, shoot them out. We're going to be here for you, and we'll continue to answer those questions. And Laura, I'm going to grab, I realized I didn't have our contact information in these slides. So I'm going to include our contact information in the chat. And I know Christian and Yvonne are very good stewards and partners with us. So I know they will also provide that at a later time. But for now, I'll provide our contact info in the chat.
Thank you for that, Rosie. So I just want to say I am so excited to be here. I know I've been working with Yvonne and Rosie. I've been working with Maria for years, but we have a huge need in Monterey County for early childhood teachers. We are so short of teaching staff in our classrooms. You would not believe it. So I've been really trying to help with family childcare, getting that going with Maria, the pre-apprenticeship. Yvonne and I started with that really early on. It was Yvonne's brainchild, really. And then the apprenticeship came out of that think tank and the people that were really wanting to improve what's happening around teaching. I know that K-12 and pre-K, TK is also stretched, but please consider making a living in early childhood. It's a wonderful place to be. I've been in early childhood for about 30 years. So I just want to thank you for being here and hearing us out here because it's a great place to be. I am going to take you on a little bit of a journey. What would a typical day look like if you haven't been in a classroom before? What you see here is it could be a family childcare home or it could be a center, either one. Our centers are now looking more cozy. They don't look like a typical classroom. They look a little bit more homey. So this is an adult working with mixed age group of children, some preschoolers, it looks like a toddler, and maybe a wobbler, as I call them. Those are the little ones who aren't babies, but kind of a little unsteady on their feet. Let's go to the next slide. So everybody's classroom varies a little bit. So a daily schedule might look something like this, where you would, the children start showing up and there's adults greeting them at the door, greeting the parents, greeting the children, saying good morning, hello, maybe taking some temperatures, making sure that they're healthy, finding out what their day is, their evening was like before, getting really involved in sort of the day-to-day life of the children and families that you're working with. They would have breakfast, there'd be cleanup, activities happening throughout the day, things that the teaching staff and you are as an adult in the classroom considered a teaching staff. The children don't know the difference between an apprentice, an assistant teacher, a teacher, a supervisor or director. They think all the big people are their teachers. So that's who you are. You might be setting up activities like bubbles or blocks or Play-Doh, different kinds of things. There's circle time, outdoor play, center activities. There's also lunch. Children would be napping or having some free play. There's outdoor, again, they would do outdoor play, center activities, and then goodbye. Giving the parents some information about how that child's day went. Next slide. So what would an apprentice day look like? In order to be successful in this program, we know that you're taking classes and studying really hard and needing maybe some extra support. So the day will vary from employer to employer, but maybe showing up around 8 a.m., working with the children, you'd get a break, you'd work again with the children and adults, help with the lunchtime, maybe have them get down for a nap, and then the apprentices would go home, maybe get ready for their classes for that evening, do some studying at home, and then go to classes. Again, they're hybrid, so you would have a day or so with the instructors and a day doing a remote learning, I believe. Next slide. So this is just my tips for success as you go into, if you are in an apprenticeship program and you're in a classroom, the employers are super excited about this program. They are ready for you. We'll be doing some mentor training and some apprenticeship training. But I wanted to give you just some hints that employers look for when you're in the classroom. So be open and friendly, lots of smiles, say your name and tell them who you are. Be on time when you go to your job. That's just something that you need to do. And they'll look for that, making sure, because they have to open the classroom at a certain time. Get down on children's eye level. So when you're talking with children, you can either be on your knees, or you can get a little chair, or you can sit on the floor. Being at eye level with children is really important. Keeping the parent, child, and staff confidentiality. That means not doing a lot of gossiping about any of the parents, children, or staff that you're working with. Having pleasant conversations. This one's a tough one. Keep your phone off when you're working. So they don't want you looking at your phone or having texts come in when you're working. Keeping the classroom nice and neat, but also you can ask children to help. It's usually part of the routine to have kids help to put things away. And sometimes, most of the time, the kids know where things go. Washing your hands often, so that's just basic sanitation, and then enjoying the children and having fun. You're going to be really successful if you love working with kids, and if you're having fun, they're having fun, and it's making your day go really, really fast. Next slide. So as Rosie mentioned, there are supports available through this particular apprenticeship program. Now, this is the first apprenticeship, this is the first group of apprentices that we've got. And so far, it's the only group that we have. We don't have any continuation funding, so you guys are it. So we really want you to be successful. We're hoping to continue on year after year after year, but you are, as Rosie mentioned, the trailblazers. You're the first. You need to tell us how it's working. We will probably check in with you a couple of times, let us know what you need, but there are supports here for you. Laptops, books, the tuition is paid for. If you are in this registered apprenticeship program, the tuition is paid for. There is a student success coach. If you're having problems in the classes, there's tutors to help you. The employers have a mentor. There are other trainings that Maria's got and that Quality Matters has and Monterey County in general has that we will be kind of encouraging you to get involved with. It is paid employment. You'll get work experience, permit support, and licensing. So I am done with my spiel. So the next is questions for us around the apprenticeship. As we mentioned, we're still kind of building the boat as it floats, but we are really eager to have this cohort come with us on this journey, and so pleased that you're here. We are open for questions.
Hey, Laura, there was two questions. I know somebody raised their hand, but I'll address the first one. There was one where somebody asked, and this was a recurring question that I received in the process of kind of explaining the program to prospective students, which was some of them have jobs. And so I know Jessica seems to put the question first as far as like, if they have a job, do they have to participate in the apprenticeship? The second part of that same question that I would get is, what if that job is in education? Is there flexibility there, or they have to participate in one of the agencies or placements that you all would put them in?
Great question, and I'm going to pass it to Rosie.
Okay, so thank you. So two-part question. So I just wanted to kind of reframe. So we expect, because we've been speaking with our employers and trying to understand the needs, we expect the apprenticeship to take place in the morning time. We believe it will not be any more than 25 hours. If you remember from one of the previous slides, it's 2,000 hours for that total apprenticeship term. So in looking at those multiple terms, we expect it to be approximately 20 to 25 hours, most likely 25 hours. However, we're still creating that agreement with the employers, which leads me to the second part of the question. So can I do the apprenticeship at my current employer right now versus someone in the apprenticeship program, so an employer in the apprenticeship program. So what we have are called sponsors, which are those apprenticeship agencies. And what I would say, Lillian, and I'm not sure if that was Lillian's questions or Jessica Christian, but depending on your employer, they might already be at the table in our joint apprenticeship committee, communicating to us their apprenticeship needs. So as Laura mentioned, we have a few employers that are very eager to accept apprentices. Yours agency might be one. And if they're not at the table already, and they do work that is similar to what we've been discussing tonight, we probably want to talk with them. So that would be a great way to connect them with us. And I will tell you, like anything else, it's a balance. So we want to be very transparent to think about that schedule, 8 to 1, having classes in the evening on that Tuesday, Thursday. So what there are apprenticeship programs that are full-time, 40 hours. We also recognize, though, that as we start this program, this is a pilot program. It's a seed funding from a California initiative grant. We want you to be successful. That's first and foremost. So that requires a careful balance of work hours and education hours. But if we can create that partnership for you, fulfilling that apprenticeship program, you don't have to choose between getting paid on the job and attending your classes. What will the pay be? Well, we're negotiating that right now, and we know that it will never be below minimum wage. We have looked at some progressive wage increases during that 3-year period. And so while I don't have that exact wage for you, I can tell you that the state of California expects there to be an increase in January of 2023 of the minimum wage, which will likely be at $15.50 because of inflation. There might also be some changes to that hourly wage per proposals to the state law. So the apprenticeship will keep up with that because we cannot override anything that's a state law, right? And nor do we want to. So sorry, not a black and white answer, but it's kind of what Maria said earlier. She spoke to the market. What will the market bear? And so we want to be mindful of what our employers can afford, and also what is a decent wage that will speak to sustainability in Monterey County.
I'd like to follow up briefly. So one point I'd like to make, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, is that you have a lot of options. So we'll explain those options later, but just to address this particular question, it's possible that we might be able to bring your employer on as an apprenticeship site. That's one option. But even if we can't do that, you could continue working for your employer and continue to take the classes with the cohort. Or the third option would be that you just take the classes on your own. So there are lots of options, and we can help you to figure out which option is best for you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Rosie. I had another one. I don't think they're here. The student that proposed or asked this question is, but I know Lillian is here. We have some students that are in Salinas, and one of the questions that came up was, where are the placements going to be? Are they scattered between the Salinas Valley, or is it specific to Soledad since the classes are in Soledad?
So Laura, I'm going to ask if you and I could kind of tag team this one. So we have at least one employer right now that's a large employer, and that looks like mostly in Salinas. But we have some other employers that are outside of Salinas.
Seaside,
Yeah.
Seaside, Salinas, Monterey, and perhaps
South County.
let's see, I'm trying to think. And South County.
Yeah. So everything within basically a half hour. Everything within a half hour of Salinas, if you look at like kind of a focal point, although those classes will be Soledad and hybrid online.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you guys, I can't send this, so I'm sending the picture
Aw.
of one kitty. So there you go. Thanks, Lillian.
So if there aren't any questions at the moment, perhaps we could move forward, and I think maybe that will also generate questions.
Sure.
Yes, let me just bring up the next or go back to the original presentation, which, yeah, we wanted to definitely, and you know, the spirit of full transparency is give you everything that you needed to know in order to make that decision. So we talked about the different opportunities, and the first one, since we ended with this one, was the apprenticeship. You know, it seems to have its advantages in the sense of that the classes are paid through the apprenticeship. Classroom, being placed in a classroom, gaining that experience. Rosie spoke of the tutoring and the mentoring support, or whether it's books, laptops, and other support. There was a guaranteed job after the apprenticeship, and I know Rosie and Laura, you all were tweaking that
Yeah.
document, and I had already cut and pasted by the time presentation started, but I know that we will be sharing that actual document with everybody. So pretty much it's what was on there. I put it on these slides, making it a little bit easier for the presentation. And so the other one is you will be employed by an ECD program while you take the courses that are needed for the certain permits. As Rosie mentioned, when you're completing the apprenticeship and the courses, you're also working towards some of these permits and being able to apply for some of these permits by completing the courses. We put disadvantages, but it's literally you some things to consider and think about. And the first one is that it is a cohort model. So if there's, you know, example, you're following the same group of students through the first two courses. So all 30 plus students are registering for the first two classes this semester. The same 30 students would hopefully register for the next semester, and so on and so forth. And so everybody's completing the classes together. And so I think that's one of the cool things about the program too, is it's a group model, it's a cohort model. So you are all able to help each other out. It is slow paced, so that's one thing to think about, and that's because, as Rosie mentioned, this apprenticeship program is, if you went back to the courses, it's about 3 years of courses that you are completing. You're only completing 2 classes at a time. And, you know, we'll talk about the other pathways, because I know I had a couple students saying, I'm trying to finish as soon as possible. And so the advantages and then the slow pace could be something to consider, especially for a student that's trying to get in and get out as soon as possible. And then you will need some general ed classes, some additional classes to complete your associates. And so that's for this apprenticeship portion. And so I don't know if there's questions before I move on to the next option, but this is the first option, which is the apprenticeship. If you want to participate in this apprenticeship program, these are kind of things to consider as pros and kind of things to consider as far as how the program is going to run. So I'll open it up to questions if anybody has questions.
So one point of clarification, we indicate in the very first point that classes are paid for, they're going to be free, but that's going to be once we are a registered apprenticeship. So I just want to point out, just to be perfectly transparent, that we're in that process. So for this first semester, you may need to pay for the classes, and then we'll reimburse you. So it's super important that everyone apply for financial aid if you haven't done so that you can be covered until we complete that requirement with the state. Then starting the second semester forward, you won't have to pay a penny. You won't have to worry about anything.
As long as you're in those apprenticeship courses. So what we will want to do is make sure you're following that exact path that we spell out. And also, I'm going to piggyback on Christian's point really quickly. So what is a disadvantage, actually the advantage of having that cohort support. Like Christian said, you follow a group of peers. And so if we look at some of our other programs at Hartnell College, like our Kristen Arps, our teacher pathway program, our computer science in 3 years program, our leadership programs with women's and women education and leadership, as well as our MILE program. We see advantages in cohorts and those networks and those peers. And so those are additional supports. So I agree with Christian, actually an advantage also, so.
Yeah, and I see a question from Jessica mentioning, I'm not enrolled, I haven't done any steps, and that's another reason why we wanted to meet with this group of students, was because some of them will be kind of starting first semester at Hartnell. They haven't taken the counseling one, and so I am here to help and support you with those steps. I've helped some of the students that are already enrolled at Hartnell do the admissions application. I have a financial aid background, so to me, the financial aid application is easy for me, and I could explain it. And for those of you that are like, oh man, well, the classes are free, or I'm gonna have to pay for them, don't be so concerned with that. From my experiences of working in financial aid, not only here at Hartnell, but at UC Santa Cruz, there's a great percentage of students that are eligible for what used to be called a fee waiver. It's called the California Promise Grant. And so this California Promise Grant covers your tuition. And so the only thing is we need to do the application. And so yes, Jessica, and to any students that haven't done any of the steps, we are here to help. And I'll give you my contact information. After this meeting, one of the things I was thinking is sending, there's gonna be a survey, but out of the survey that will tell me who needs additional help with applications, whether it's admissions or financial aid, and then we'll follow up. And so the purpose of the meeting was to give you information, but also get a gauge of how many students still need support, because as we mentioned, classes start on August 29th. And so it gives us time. There's plenty of time. We just want to get a figure of, who's done what and who still needs to do what and who wants to be a part of it. I think that's the biggest thing, is to give you this information about the apprenticeship and see who wants to be a part of this apprenticeship program.
So Christian, there's a hand up on an iPhone.
Oh, yes, I have a quick question. I have already do the Hartnell application. That's me a lot of questions. So since I'm a returning student, I think I went 4 years ago that stopped going to school. But now I'm stuck on the financial aid process. I don't know how to do it anymore.
Yeah, no, and it's one of the things that I always try to figure out first is whether a student attended before and is coming back. That's always helpful to know, because we don't want to create 2 different accounts with the admissions and records office. So we can definitely touch base, and I'll give you my contact information. And again, before you leave today, our hope is that you will complete the survey that we have prepared for you, which will give me an idea of who I need to talk to. We're going to ask for your name. We're going to ask a series of questions, and then that will give me an idea of whether I need to contact you. And then just make sure you write, your email and your phone number. That way I'm able to contact you.
Okay.
Anything else, Laura, Rosie, Yvonne, you wanted to add on this? Because I know there's the other pathway we were going to talk about next.
I just want to reemphasize that because of what Rosie said, the apprenticeship classes are the ones that are going to be free to you. So make sure you sign up for our sections, because if you happen to sign up for another section of ECE, even though you'll get credit for it, that one won't be free. Only our section will be free.
The pink highlights here, right, Yvonne?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, and I know there's a group of students that had already registered, and so just double check on your registration portal, on your student portal, that you are registered for these sections. As Rosie mentioned, these are Tuesday, Thursday hybrid classes from 4:20 to 5:45. And so, just double check the registration if you already registered. And if you haven't registered, don't worry about it. We'll get you in that class, in those classes. Okay. Yvonne, did you want to cover this one?
Sure. Okay, so the fellows pathway is an alternative to the apprenticeship pathway. So this pathway is open to folks who don't have work authorization. So the advantages of this pathway is that you can qualify for up to 6 credits paid per semester, and you should be talking to Miriam and Mikasa about how you can get that done. We're arranging it so that you can receive a stipend for the work that you do for our ECE provider. So you'll be getting a similar type of work experience as the people in our apprenticeship pathway, but you'll get a stipend instead of a wage. However, you won't have a guarantee of a job after the fellowship, because again, a job requires work authorization. So the disadvantages are similar to those in the apprenticeship pathway. You're going to have to take the classes with the cohort. It's going to take about 3 years to go through the fellowship, just as it does with the apprenticeship. And in addition, if you want to earn your associates, you will have additional credits to complete. As Rosie had said, you'll be about 2/3 of the way done. You'll have to earn about another 20 credits to complete your associates. Does anyone want to add anything to that?
There was a question that popped up in the chat, Yvonne, which says, if you enroll in the program, do you need to work? And so I think, I'm not sure if it's work through the apprenticeship, or in this case, if these students are receiving a stipend, they have to complete those hours, pretty much.
Okay, so the apprenticeship is structured in that if you want to participate in the apprenticeship, you have to do both components. You have to take the classes as a cohort, and you have to work in an apprenticeship. That's why would you want to do this? Well, because there are 3 big advantages. You get free classes, you get a paid apprenticeship, and you get a job when you finish the apprenticeship. But if that doesn't interest you, if all you want to do is take the classes, you have 2 options. You could still take the classes with the cohort, keeping in mind that it's going to take you longer, because we're only taking 2 classes per semester. Or if all you want to do is finish as soon as possible, you can just take the classes, and you can try and get a job on your own on the side. And we'll talk a little bit more about those options later. So the main message I'm trying to get across is there are options, and we can sit down with you and help you decide which one is best for you. And remember that Maria Ortiz gave you another option as well. That's another option open to you. And we're going to talk about that right now.
Yeah, so this is the presentation that Maria did, where she was talking about the opportunity to kind of open childcare. I forget the proper term, but I know she used different on her flyer and on her presentation, but it's essentially a family childcare educator entrepreneurship opportunity. And so that's some of the advantages that she mentioned was you can complete the training in months. I think it was, I don't remember how many weeks it was, but it seemed like it was a couple months, a few months that you needed to complete.
6 to 8 weeks.
6,
to get
okay.
licensed.
And then there are funds available. I think she said $1,000, up to $1,000 in reimbursement for some of the expenses that you have to do before. You don't need to take any of the college classes. So it was a wonderful kind of a business opportunity. Not required to follow the cohort. You're kind of following their guidance and their recommendations as far as the modules and all those trainings that you need to do. And I can't see the bottom. Can you read the last point on the left, Yvonne?
Self-employed. Oh, sorry.
Or Rosie, can you read it?
Yes, you will be self-employed.
Yeah, so you are, as Maria mentioned, you are the boss. You are the jefa, the jefe, in charge of your business. And so that is a wonderful opportunity. Disadvantages, again, I don't know if we'd call them disadvantages, but just things to consider is there are no paid classes because essentially there's no classes. There are those modules that you need to complete. There is no paid apprenticeship. You're not placed anywhere. If anything, you're just completing certain requirements. And then no guaranteed job since essentially you are creating your own. So just things to consider about that option that Maria spoke about. And I don't know if there's any questions for Maria regarding this one, but this was a wonderful opportunity. I know I had a couple students who said, you know, what will it take to start my own business at home? And so I felt when Yvonne mentioned that we were going to have a representative from MAUIF come to talk about this entrepreneur opportunity, I thought it was a wonderful opportunity for those that asked that question, and especially for somebody who's trying to get into the early childhood field and has the time and willingness to kind of start their own business.
I just wanted to piggyback on something Laura just put in the chat. So in response to, would it be every day or only certain days? So Laura has noted 6 to 8 weeks. So that is the case during a summer semester, for example, but during the regular fall and spring, we have a little bit longer period. So about 16 weeks. So we want to make sure that during that time that we set you up for success. So we expect it to be a little bit longer during that fall or spring, but that is correct for that summer term.
And then just to emphasize, another big advantage of this option is that you don't need work authorization. You don't need to be documented. You can create your own business and earn an income. And, you know, within 6 to 8 weeks, you can complete the process.
This was the last path that we kind of wanted to discuss, especially because some students expressed a desire to not take more than 2 classes, try to finish as soon as possible, was the independent path. So you're on your own. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, Hartnell has always had an early childhood education program since I can remember. And so those classes have always been offered at the different campuses. And so you are able to take the very same classes, ECE 1, ECE 6, and take additional ECE classes if you want, and you can complete your AA in as little as 2 years. You're not required to follow the same group of students through the classes. You're kind of registering for yourself, you're registering your own, you're applying for financial aid, you're doing everything pretty much on your own with the help of Hartnell's staff and support staff. The disadvantages, not paid classes, I mean, that's kind of a little bit inaccurate because you are able to apply for financial aid. The thing is there would be no paid apprenticeship. And I mean, I can't say there's no job guaranteed, but you are taking the same classes that our group of students are taking. It's just that you would have to take it upon yourself to go apply and look for jobs compared to the apprenticeship, where it seemed more that we would kind of fit you in or set you up with a certain organization to get a job after the fact. And so this is a path, again, for those students that are saying, like, I'm trying to get in and finish these classes as soon as possible. And so you are able to. The only thing is you would be a regularly enrolled Hartnell student. You wouldn't be a part of this apprenticeship program. And I don't know if there's anything that Rosie, Laura, or anybody wants to add, or if there's any questions from any of the students.
I would just add, and think of the apprenticeship period as that long interview. As Christian said, your foot's already in the door. We know that by statistics, 90% of apprentices are retained by the employer. So just like any other job, there might be a decision that you might make, a life circumstance that may change, where your path takes you in a different circumstance. But if this is indeed your passion and this is something you want to pursue, 90% of those apprentices are virtually guaranteed a job and are retained by the employer with a progressive wage increase. So that's a very high number. And along the way of your apprenticeship, we know you're going to be successful because you're constantly demonstrating skill, you're obtaining permits, you're completing your hours, you're completing your time. And so there is a structured plan around your success. And that's what I would just add.
Thank you, Rosie. Yvonne, if you could take the survey link and put it in the chat box. As I mentioned, we are really hoping that for those of you in attendance, if you're able to complete the survey, as far as we're really trying to figure out which option is best for you. That way we're able, like if you say the entrepreneur option, starting your business at home is an option, then, we would know that. And then we would give that information to Maria, and maybe you two can connect and talk about that. If it's the apprenticeship portion, then we know that we need to follow up with you for additional questions, make sure that you have everything that needs to be done so that when classes start on August 29th. And if it's something like, oh, well, I'm just going to do it on my own. Obviously, I'm still more than willing and able to give you general information of like what you need to do. But, you'd kind of be on your own in the sense of you'd have to register for yourself and things like that. And so we definitely wanted to have that information from you before you all leave today, to know who's really interested in participating in this apprenticeship portion. Because as Rosie mentioned, there is an apprenticeship application that eventually will need to be filled out, and so we want to start getting a head count of who is willing and wanting to participate in the program. And so we'll follow up with questions or schedule appointments with those of you that complete the survey. And then if you need help with registration, as that one student mentioned, we are going to be here to help support. Even if you go on your own route, for me, I feel like, I work with the adult schools, so I work with non-traditional students trying to get back into Hartnell. So I'd be more than happy to kind of guide you through the enrollment steps. And then there is going to be a certain point where you're kind of have to be on your own. Like I'll hold your hand at a distance, but you kind of want to do things on your own.
I just have one additional kind of plug, and it is that if you know somebody who's interested in either a family childcare home or might be good for any of these options, you can reach out to Christian, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Maria, because we're here as a community to help you, no matter what role we're playing, but we are looking for folks who love children. So we can help you think through, if you have other folks, if you have children who are 18 or going to be 18 and they are not sure what they want to do, but they are really good with kids, that the apprenticeship program would be great. So just my little plug.
Thank you, Laura. So I don't know if there's any questions. This is my contact information. I wanted to put that out there. And then I know in the agenda that I sent out to everybody, it did have contact information in terms of emails for Laura, Rosie, Kristen, and Maria. But as I mentioned, we will be putting everything in kind of like a digital folder. And so we'll make sure to have those contact informations on there so that any student, as Laura mentioned, who's interested in following up or asking general questions can reach out to any of our presenters. Ivan, I'm not sure if you had something.
Yes, do you mind if I share my screen for a sec?
Good question.
So we hope that you fill out the survey tonight. It should only take you 1 or 2 minutes to do. This is the main question that we're interested in. We want to know which of the 4 pathways that we talked about tonight interests you the most. I want to emphasize, we're not asking you to sign your name in blood tonight. This isn't a commitment. We just want to know which one interests you the most at this time, so that we have an idea of what you would like to do. And then we'll follow up with you. And for example, if you choose the home childcare entrepreneurship pathway, we'll make sure that Maria gets your name and contact info so that she can follow up with you. So again, we hope you do this tonight so you don't forget to do it. And we promise to follow up with you. And it's just to see what you are interested in right now, okay? Later on, when we do the actual apprenticeship application, that's when you're signing your name in blood and you're saying, yes, I want to do the apprenticeship, and you're making a 3-year commitment at that point. So that's when you want to be absolutely sure that that's what you want to do.
I just want to answer Maricela's question really quick. So Marisela, I was typing slower than I could answer here. We'll find those books out for you for ECE 1 and 6. I imagine via this calendar invite, we already have your email address, but perhaps Christian, do we have Marisela's phone number as well? Do we know?
Yes, it's 831.
Oh, okay. I'll write that down. And Marisela, you're welcome to give that to all of us, or you're welcome to just send it in the chat to Krishna or Yvonne. It's totally up to you.
We have it. We have it.
Okay.
We have it.
Okay, awesome.
So we have it, and yeah, I can definitely
Okay.
give that to you.
Thank you, Christian.
Yeah. And then I know there was a question, somebody said that, okay, if I have a job and I would like to know what program fits best, do I fill out the survey or should I talk to someone before filling it out? I mean, I think you can fill out the survey unless there's like additional questions you want to ask that maybe weren't answered in the presentation. But yeah, the survey would give us an idea of kind of what you're thinking. But unless you have questions, then I would say, yeah, we can definitely, I can stay off a couple minutes after, after everybody leaves, and we can talk about it if that's something that people are wanting to do.
Yeah, and definitely follow up with Christian, especially in that case, because that's a special case that we need to do follow-up on. And it's going to require some effort on our part to make it work. And I'm saying it won't, but I'm just saying we'll need to work at it. And then going back to the books, we do have money to pay for your books. So don't buy your books. And that means that we have to hustle and arrange for that so that you can go to the bookstore and pick up your books and not have to pay for them.
Are there any other questions? I know we're 5 minutes over 8, but just want to make sure everybody's okay. There's no more questions. But other than that, that's pretty much it for us. Thank you to Rosie. Thank you to Maria, Laura, Kristen, all of our presenters. And thank you all students for taking the time to come listen about the program. And hopefully we hope that the information we provided was enough to give you an idea of how the program is going to work. There are some unknowns, as they mentioned, we're kind of building the ship as we're kind of sailing, but we think it's a wonderful opportunity. And so if this is of interest to you or someone we'd be happy to talk to them and to help you with the process.
Christian, can I ask you how many people have signed up?
Signed up like interest or like done, like actually register for classes?
Both.
I don't have the number for registration because I don't have
Okay.
access to admissions, but the interest, it's pretty big. It was, for this one, we invited 40, but the ones that were, because we wanted to do another more general presentation, that's going to be like maybe like 60 or 70 people.
Oh, that's for the pre-apprenticeship. This one for 60 or 70.
Yeah. No, well, I'm still trying to figure out because everybody's been sharing the flyer. And so I'm still like,
Yay.
the interest form. I'm like trying to figure out where everybody falls, whether it's pre-apprenticeship or ready to start. And so I'm in the middle of also figuring out, okay, this presentation that we did today, if they're ready to start in August, then I'm going to share this presentation and have them do the survey. And so, yeah.
And maybe you can stop the recording. I was just asking. Or not.
Definitely stop the recording.